Thank you. So, everyone, we're going to talk about hybrid casual again, recurring topic these days. Finally, after my talk and the podcast that we have there, we actually get to talk to some people that are making the games themselves. So, yeah, I welcome Jakub, Tamara, and Artem here. I guess let's do a brief round of introductions. Like I've done already mine, but yeah, I'm product game design consultant, working with studios all around, been in the industry like 8 years, and then I'm running the 2.5 Gamers podcast about mobile game industry that you can see. Yeah, we can go.
Hi, my name is Tamara. I'm more than 8 years in the industry with business development and business development background and publishing background. Currently managing and leading the team at Lion Studios by Applovin. And I guess we will learn more in a couple of minutes.
Sounds good.
All right, let me see you all here. My name is Jakub. I'm also in the industry for something over 8 years. My background is mostly in analytics and product consulting, and currently I'm product director at Kolibri Games, leading Idle Miner Tycoon, and we're also very much interested in the hybridization between hyper-casual and casual games, as I think both genres can benefit from this.
Hello, this is Artem. I'm working at Kwalee as a product manager. So, as a background, I have around 3 years in publishing, and previously I worked on dev side, so I worked as a 3D artist, in AR, film industry, mobile games, so overall, that's it.
Sounds good, thank you. Yeah, so regarding the topic, I would start with first the definition of hybrid casual, or let's say even sooner than that. Why did we even get to this place, and why are we even talking about hybrid casual, and why hyper casual is not the way before? So I guess, yeah, your current experiences with hyper casual, how it's trending compared to, let's say, 2 years before. What are the games that you're currently looking for, even if you are remaining there? Because I've seen some kind of very bold statements from like top hyper casual studios, such as like Voodoo. I think they already announced that they have their usual like hyper casual is dead talk every year, and they're moving into hybrid casual. But even studios like Homas, again, I think it was Kwalee was somewhere there talking about hybrid casual. So let's get back a little bit and talk just what's the current state of hyper casual. So do you say it's still kind of 50-50, or like you're starting to switch, or you just like, still keeping it somewhere there as the core business, slowly going R&D into hybrid, or what would be, say, your current take on hyper casual as it is nowadays?
I think I can take a lead just because Lion Studios is one of the top biggest hyper-casual publishers, and of course we were affected as everyone else with IDFA and all other changes that happened in the market on the marketing side, and especially jumping to the answering the question, I do agree that there is very little room for hyper-casual these days. Due to the various reasons, but the main one is people, like, the market is pretty bloody right now, and it's getting harder and harder to buy cheaply. The whole model of hyper-casual was like you buy very cheap, you do some basic product, you put some interstitials, a couple of RV placements, banner, and then like at the end you have positive ROI, yeah. And then this model was working until CPI went up, like, I don't know, maybe hundreds or thousands times up, right? If before you could buy a user like for 10 cents and it would be millions of those users these days, it's like rarely you can see 10 cents, maybe like in India, that's for sure.
But anyone.
Yeah, exactly, but so no, and even if you get low CPIs, they very rarely sustain on a bigger scale. They go up anyway. So the model is not working anymore. So from the marketing perspective, from the marketing focus, as well as publishers, they're shifting more towards product. And I think this is where the whole hybrid casual is coming from. Like finally we're talking about games and not creators.
That's great. Yeah, Artem?
Yeah, I completely agree. Sorry. So I would say the main two difference, what been in the past, is definitely the cost of users, and the second is required on the market. What players really wanted to get as a new experience, because just doing the same over and over type of games is boring, and you won't get enough audience. So that's why they're struggling to get a new experience. That's why mostly all the publishers trying to adapt, implement some new feature in a game, make it more complex, make it more interesting, original, even some narrative stories for hyper-casual type of games, let's say Kolibri. That's why all of these actually to shift mostly to hybrid casual on the market right now. That's why you can't mostly right now to do just pure classic hyper-casual games, what's been done in the past.
Past mean like last 2 years?
Yeah, I would say yeah, because you won't get user from for 20 cents or something like this.
Yeah.
It's mostly impossible, and then when you start to scale the game, the CPI drastically rise up. So yeah.
Yeah. Jakub? Anything to add?
No, just from my perspective, of course, it's harder for all companies on the marketing side, and then obviously it's really beneficial to have some in-app purchase revenue coming on the long term, as the other revenue tends to drop off quite quickly. And I see this trend as very good, because there was this big gap, as you said, from going from more the marketing side and then coming more from product side on the casual and mid-core side. Whereas I think that we have a lot to learn on what hyper-casual did a lot was to find out what makes games fun and what makes them marketable, and how to make them really accessible. So I think that the hybridization is going from both sides, actually, that not only hyper-casual is getting harder, but I think also casual is getting harder and mid-core is getting harder, and these companies then try to adapt the early game to be more marketable, to onboard users, even Whiteout Survival and
we talk about
similar games.
If we stay at the topic a little bit, then we can pretty much leave hyper-casual as it is and finally move to hybrid casual. This is the biggest gripe that I'm hearing in the industry currently, that nobody even knows what the word means and how to define it, how to even, what are the features, what's the requirements, what's hybrid in itself. I also have my own definitions. I heard 20 different ones throughout the years. So what's, let's say, at your companies currently, how do you define a hybrid, or what's the KPIs you're striving for? That this is the thing that we want to create further. So what would that be?
Do I need a definition? Do I really need that?
Yeah, just tell me what you're going after. That's the biggest thing. Of course, it's a money printer, pretty much, I would say.
By the way, I think that there is audience players. There is still room for hyper casual in terms of audiences. Mm-hmm. If still if all the things that were before, all the rules and all the algorithms, etc., stayed as it used to be, I think we would still be
doing hyper casual. If the CPI didn't go up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So because people like to play very simple, addictive mechanics. Mm-hmm. It's just no longer fun. That's rentable. Yeah, exactly. So if we're talking about what Weird Lines 2 just trying to make, first we're mostly focusing on puzzle games. Mm-hmm. This is also what makes us more and more successful every day in this, because we're very much focused and we're trying not to expand further, even though it's very sexy to still try here and there. So within the puzzle, we try more innovative gameplays, and of course it's just in terms of hybrid casual, it is you still need to have this potential to build deeper gameplays in order to monetize players, in order to build, and not only having meta insight, mm-hmm. but the mechanic and gameplay itself should have this depthness.
Scalability through day 30, day 60 plus.
Exactly, mm-hmm. exactly. And also in terms of IEP, so there should be moments when the player feels uncomfortable and he wants to use boosters, and with boosters you have more RVs and you have at the end some
In-app
IP,
purchases.
yeah, purchases, etc. So, and all the other beautiful things like skip-its, etc. So
Yeah, we talk about that.
yeah.
We can still.
So as a definition, I think those are the games with longer tail, with much deeper gameplay and various monetization mechanics, including additional mechanics like live ops.
Mhm.
They're becoming essential
Okay, so
as well.
able to perform the usual content treadmill of live ops.
Exactly.
Yeah. Artem?
Mostly, yeah, the same. So the main idea is just to mix both the best option from casual and hyper-casual games. So first of all, it's pretty simple snackable gameplay, call loop from hyper-casual, let's call it like that. And then you get the best from casual games like meta and game what we call like live ops, and trying to increase the, let's say, the rate of EAP in the game, implementing different hard currency, different skippers, and so on and so on. So just to make sure that the players can stay in your games not for day 7, day 14, but they can play day 30 and higher. So that's actually like a combination of both two, let's say, type of games in one. So the simple call loop, as I said, and more complex meta with more variety and customization for the users with more depth.
Mm. So I'm hearing just spend depth all over the place, like bigger spend depth, bigger kind of soft currency sinks, hard currency sinks, like pretty much robust economy. Yeah. Jakub, anything to add there? By the way, if I understand, Kolibri was like a pioneer in this, even though they maybe didn't really kind of was going into it, because if I remember correctly, Idle Miner Tycoon, before it really kind of took off, it was completely ad driven, and only afterwards IIPs were kind of added on top of it, and at some point it was making 50% revenue, which was the hybrid monetization to begin with, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think that for plenty of these, let's say, more marketable, simpler, casual games, it's not. I think a lot of these hybrid casual games get spotlight because of this move of these big players such as yours to like try to enhance the hyper casual titles and to bring some meta to the core gameplay. Whereas there it's very hard for me to distinguish like on some general level because there is a lot of casual games who have been doing this from the other side. So they were trying to simplify and be very marketable and with very simple mechanics like ours.
Yeah, like this is something that people probably forget when they're like coming all from the hyper casual spectrum, that like this is just like one way process. No, it's not, it's both ways pretty much. And like I think mid-core games were kind of stealing the hyper casual know-how all the time in a way, like through creatives, how like before the UA was kind of all these kind of fake ads, like this is pretty much like all from hyper casual, so that's there. Okay, that sounds great. Now that we have this, like, we need more progression, more spend depth, more everything. How do you tackle the expertise challenge then? Because most hyper-casual studios, if I understand, don't really have that big of like internal teams, which probably will change nowadays. But they usually work mostly with external developers or external studios around the world that were like before just sending the prototypes and just pump up, scale up. But now with hybrids, I guess this model doesn't really work, and the expertise needs to be kind of preserved either within the external studio that's going to get more attached to the company, or just outright bought. Or how would you tackle this kind of expertise challenge, or like keeping the this more core product know-how that's required to build a hybrid? So you trying to build internal teams within your studios, you acquire studios, or like how do you approach this problem?
I would say in all ways possible. So if you work with external developers, first of all, you need to understand their expertise, the background, what they achieved in the past, for example, and just to understand can they capable to deliver what they pitch to you. Mm-hmm. And secondly, I would say the main difference is pre-production phase, where you just trying to understand what the final product will look like. That's why you request from developers, please provide me as many as possible information, some data research, marketing research, what in your mind will be driven in these games. And don't forget about what kind of monetization I plan to implement, because sometimes they don't deliver. This is the cool call loop. Okay, what next? And then you're trying to dig deeper just to understand their thoughts, and then you realize that no, it's not going to work because there are a lot of huge lag for the possibility to improve something, let's say, to add extra more, let's say, hard currency, something like that.
Another layers into
Yeah, that's why I would say the pre-production phase and hybrid casual production, this is crucial one. This is the phase where you try the way to understand will it work or not?
Like, will it scale?
Yeah, exactly. So you see the
I mean,
all
system-wise.
gaps, like pros and cons for this specific title. Also, I would say need to take in consideration also your audience. I mean, what they're looking for, what, let's say, the player archetype will be in these games. Are they looking for some action RPG, let's say, or they're more like idle gamer or something else? So based on this research, it actually gives you some kind of tips and tricks what to implement further, what kind of meta will be, what's the new feature you can implement. So that's, I would say, yeah, pre-production is crucial one, and if you see this in a studio, external studio, definitely you can do something with these guys. But also don't forget the time of production. It's way longer. It's not like it was in the past, let's say,
more
couple of
hyper-casual.
months. Yeah, no, it won't work like that. So we need at least like 6 months in a row just to understand, can you deliver it? And also don't forget about the financial backup of this one. Can they do it? Or there will be some, let's say, in the middle of production, the moment where we don't have
burn
funding.
rate.
Yeah, what we're going to do. Okay, let's figure out.
So we would say if you would compare it like 2 years before and now, this whole kind of from the point you started talking to the external studio to the point you actually launched the game into the charts, what would be the time difference? Like from like 2 months into what now?
It depends. I mean, if it's like 2 person in the studio, it can be up to 3 months to make the simple MVP, which you can test for the initial KPIs. If, let's say, there are like 20, 30 people in a team, it can be way faster, of course. So approximately, I would say for the initial MVP, it can be up to 3 months.
Yeah, that's something I keep hearing. Yep. Tamara?
Since I'm looking at things from the publisher's perspective, of course, and where we have various studios that we're working. And a year and a half back then, when we were doing the shift, it was all, and I still think it's all coming to the studios with whom we're working. And if those studios has enough, like what is their team composition? Will they be able to run those, like, they definitely will be able to build MVP, but will they be able to support the game? And if they won't be, what are the alternatives? And we use both. If the team is capable, of course, the game stays with them. If not, then we're finding and helping them in the future. So it is from the team itself should have an expertise, like at least some good understanding of game design, of game development, of the game industry, of IEP and live ops. And on the other hand is publishers' expertise, and from that perspective we building our team with that focus, and we're still hiring and still looking for a strong product people, for some experienced data scientists. So this is our focus. So we can add more expertise and more
product
value. Yeah.
Would you say so even that you would kind of, let's say, because the requirements are pretty high now, like not only you need to like create the fun game, scale it, and also run the live, so pretty much like a full-fledged casual studio. But would you say, are you trying to like offset some of these, let's say, in a way that like just let's say like just 2 of those would be enough, in a way like just build the fun game and be able to like create the functional system, and we take care of levels for you, for instance. Do you see going into that direction?
I know that Voodoo does this,
Yeah.
right? And, but Say Games, they have completely different model, and they have much bigger studios with whom they work, and they keep only publishing the game. Right now, currently, we're something in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
So if the team needs that, we provide those resources. But I cannot, I think we're in the moment, and in half a year, in a year, we might be more towards Voodoo's model.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Understand. Yeah, thanks. Jakub.
Thank you. So for us, as I said, and you stated very correctly, the expertise on ad monetization and marketing coming from hyper-casual studios is very important. So that's something that we are constantly learning from, and also when it comes to the people, the talent that is valuable for casual studios nowadays. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the pre-production that you said. Like, of course, with the rising costs of the development, the return on investment on doing proper pre-production is much higher. And here, I think it's what they need to work very well is to actually try to understand where your game, like how big is the audience. You can test some creatives for the CPCs, CPIs, and try to understand, okay, like, am I able on this core game, can I build like a meta game that will have LTV high enough to pull it off? So this is, so the pre-production is definitely key to make something viable nowadays.
And you would say you pretty much kind of shifted a little bit from, say, because I know, like, let's say Kolibri is excellent at like going within this one genre and having multiple copies of itself, I would say. Now that finally like kind of paid off. But would you say you're also kind of stretching away from just going within your genre, and now that like you're looking more into hybrids, like overall, like even going out of your genre, like out of idle, or maybe adapting idle into arcade idle, or some kind of different, let's say, hyper casual themes into the current setup that you run there?
So I think currently we're staying true to our competence. So our vision is to be like one of the best and most recognized idle studios. However, there are some lessons, maybe more on the higher level, which we can, adapt. So we'll not always do just tycoon games. So we might do something in like related genres. And I think that the message of hybrid casual and hyper casual is all about accessibility and smooth onboarding, and like really just a very pleasant way how the people get into the game and learn how to play it, and that's universal.
Yeah, and I think that that hyper casual had some really good insights for the gaming industry in general, and keeping development cycles until the first test as MVPs was one of them. And I would recommend to keep those cycles as short as possible in order to check your core gameplay, and then based on the received data make decisions. Yes, if before you were doing like 5 levels and testing CPI, and that was enough. Right now, of course, like probably your first build is targeting more like retention day 1, day 2, but the timelines and the development cycles are still remaining within hyper casual approaches, rather than like exactly go like if you're doing casual like 3 to 6 months development, it's no longer hybrid casual. It's like also specific type of games. So I wouldn't call that hybrid casual or hyper casual.
Yeah, of course. Okay. Sounds perfect. Moving on. This brings me to that other kind of big topic that's currently kind of trending in the industry, which is what's the place of ads now in this hybrid economy? Because we have IAPs, which then introduces this nice effect of cannibalization. That now that we have ads, we don't really want to push it. Now that we have IAPs, we don't really want to push it there. Ideally, we want to end up with something like 50% rev share, because we know we have a strong IAP economy, but also we have strong ads. But this is just utopia that happens. Nobody usually can ends up right there, and you need a lot of fine tuning. So what's your approach here regarding ads versus IAPs? Even we can go in more deeper there. Like what's the newest kind of trends regarding skip-its? And like I've seen kind of hybrids going the way around, like pretty much skipping ads through hard currencies and like adding sinks and sources there. So what would you say would be your approach to ads in hybrid economies currently?
Right, I can start from our perspective. And I think that Kolibri has been historically very good at this balancing act between ads and in-app purchase economy. And my perception is that, and it's with, let's say, it's easier for casual games than for hybrids because we have a bit more depth, a bit more time to work things out. So layering of the economies so that initially you get a lot of value from the ads where also the company is getting the most value from the ads themselves, and then gradually transferring to layers of economy that are more IP driven is something that tends to work well in terms of like, I think it's valuable to think about each ad that the player is getting something from us and how much value are we getting back from him. And later down the line, like we have, for example, we also have these, so you can get rewards for free if you buy this pack in the game. So of course, like the value is low, very low for players who are payers and very late in the game. On the other hand, skip its, in my experience, might be a little bit too tough or like not as sustainable long term as a source of revenue. But I would be really interested, also maybe from you guys, to know like how do you see that, and if you think that they can be like a
sustainable source
sustainable for longer, yeah.
I would say it's an interesting time right now because we're trying to, let's say, balance the rate of AAP compared with ads. Of course, right now it's still ads the main source of revenue. There is no doubt. But I would say right now it's more interesting the time for RB videos, how you can neutrally adapt it and merge in the gameplay, not to make it aggressive, but at the same time encourage players to play it, like watch it,
yeah.
to skip it, to get some boosters. So I would say it's more, let's say, interesting from design perspective, how you're gonna to implement it in the game just to make it, let's say, as a part of the game. And this is another way where AAP also can be implemented. So if you have enough time, you can achieve whatever you want without spending any cents. But if you have this opportunity, you can get everything more faster. For the skippers, I would say it's interesting because it can be as a part of rewards for the quests, daily quests, weekly quests.
Like another currency.
Exactly. As longer you play, as more chance you can achieve the skippers. And then you, let's say, like invest time in the game, and then games rewards you by investing more and more time again in the same game. So it's like a core loop, pretty neutral. And for the interstitials, it still exists. Everybody likes interstitials. It's a joke. But right now it's definitely the cooldown increased drastically compared to what it was previously, where the cooldown was extremely aggressive, like 20-30 seconds. Right now it goes up around like 2 minutes, even up to 3 minutes, but it's more like a break, like pop-up, when you can get some small amount of rewards by watching these interstitials. And the bonus, of course, is still like the part of monetization, which still exists in the game. But what's interesting right now is see that more and more publishers are trying to implement different type of banners, like the real 3D object in the game, and as well as the audio banners as well. So you can listen to something instead of watching something. So I would say, as more we work in hyper-casual, there's more interesting way how to implement this monetization we see on the market, which is really interesting and makes some kind of curiosity. What will be in the next 6 months? What is it going to be? Can we skip completely and remove all interstitials and banners, just keep only RV, or can we increase, let's say, percentage of AAP, let's say from 20% up to 50% in hybrid casual? So we'll see.
Yeah, that's my question here, like a sub-question, because I see this kind of a school of thought between the big hybrids on the market, whereas ones are like RV only, no interstitials, no banners, like I guess much more kind of towards IP driven, like Survivor, IO, Alien Invasion, like all hobby games. And then you have the interstitial banner ones, which are still have kind of robust economies, but don't get me wrong, they spam you with interstitials. Those are all the Say games, the Voodoo ones, and like this kind of other school of thought, like we're okay with intrusive stuff. So if you had to choose, which one would you follow now?
The most stable, I would say, this is the second option, when you already know how to, let's say...
So you have both
Yeah,
intrusive
have
ads,
everything in
both
the
traffic.
game, and then during the all A/B test, just to find the perfect balance for the users.
For interstitials, for
Yeah.
instance. Okay.
Yeah.
Tamara?
I think that IP is playing a crucial role these days, especially taking into account the CPM degradation. And when you release the game, your CPMs are on its top, and the older the game, the lower CPMs, and this is where IP is coming in. That's actually something that can help you to sustain the scale. Like you can probably more or less easily to scale the game these days still, like get to the top charts, but in order to stay there and to have more or less good amount of users coming in every day, you need to have solid amount of IP in order to also networks to know that your users are high value users and that other advertisers will come and buy on a good enough value, good enough price. So IP is also helping CPMs. And I think that interstitials and banners are okay, like, and everything can be tested if it is impacting your retention, and
It is.
sometimes it doesn't.
Really?
Like,
Like
of course.
interstitials, you would say same retention with and without.
Yes, of
Really?
course. If they're like, of course, the frequency of interstitials, and when you show it for the first time
do it
and a
right.
right placement, everything need to be tested and designed from the game design also perspective. What is the perfect time? And I know cases when actually interstitials help to improve retention.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when especially in hyper casual times, when the player has very long session and he just keeps, like.
Attention heavy?
Like, yeah, you just play every level and you don't have the break. So you have like 50 levels in one session and then you leave and never come back.
So you burn
But-
out.
Exactly, but with interstitials and having some breaks, it can allow you to maybe retain better on the day one. Of course, it won't help you in the long run. Of
It's
course,
the first
it
time I
might.
hear this.
Yeah, and also things like what we are testing right now and what is showing interesting results is to not only skip it, but also such things like battle pass can be interesting to explore, and also replacing interstitials with RVs or skip-its, for example. That's something that you can explore further. Also, due to like longer players staying in the game, the more interstitials you show them, the lower CPMs. So maybe it is better for you to show them one RV instead of like 10 interstitials, and then like keep retention on a better level.
So same question here for the school of thought. Are we only or interstitials and banners?
I mean, I'm part of Applovin, so I'm
Of
like
course.
full in, 100%.
Okay. Yeah, what that? Just like one last thing in a way that like I think we still don't really exhaust the possibilities of what can be done with, like, for instance, the skip-X mechanic. Like I've seen this within, let's say, Legend of Slime, if you know the game. They have this like cumulative ads progression. In like the more ads you watch, it literally can count as a cumulative bonus to your stats throughout the whole game. So you literally watch hundreds of ads and actually have like direct impact on like health and damage of the slimes and stuff like that. So I guess you still get like more progression vectors that we'll be talking about later. But yeah, enough of the ads and like ads in the economy. Going.
I have a question.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Do you have a ratio how much of the ads are actually ads from other games and how much is actually fresh money coming into the games industry from other parts of the industry? Like,
You mean ads that are not for the same type of games,
or for any kind of games? Do you have a ratio how many
like
ads
non-game
are-
ads?
Yeah, how high the percentage is of no game ads in your advertisement part of your hybrid?
Like pretty much how much advertising time do you sell to non-gaming related buyers?
It's up to also the waterfall
Mm.
and also the deviation you choose.
I don't think so. There's like a industry standard here.
You don't track that.
No. Like I think the last number I heard back in the days was that hyper casual games had 60% of their traffic being again hyper casual, but all the rest of it was still gaming related. It's not like the question you were asking. It's just like 60% of all the traffic was hyper casual between like hyper casual, so they were kind of eating their tails. But regarding this kind of non-gaming, like whatever, like brands like Coca-Cola or something like that, I don't think so. Anybody tracks that
I
currently.
think it's up to the network. And
Yeah, depends how you set up your.
sometimes
Yeah,
you
exactly.
have a lot of false advertising.
Yeah, or there's like football championships or something. It's kind of seasonal, so I don't think so. It's like it's not an important or like key metric to track. Currently.
I just have to say that sometimes when I travel, I get very, like here in Germany, it's mostly games, but sometimes you get some vault or some promotion. But sometimes when I travel, especially smaller countries, there is, I see more of just local things.
I have a specific question here. As everybody is pretty much eager to hop on the hybrid bandwagon, have you tried this other way of doing hybrids as modifying current hyper-casual on your portfolio and adding progression to them? I mean, already existing ones. Or would you think like just going from scratch is better? Because I know, let's say, Voodoo's like prime example, Mob Control was created like that. I don't know, but that's the only kind of big hybrid they have on the portfolio. But let's say Hobby say games, they're doing it like completely different way around. So what would you say? Like, have you tried this? Do you have any experiences with this, or what do you think about this way?
I think it all comes to the gameplay. If you are lucky and your gameplay has this potential, then you can try to build something on top, something that Voodoo did really nicely. I would say we haven't tried with existing games. We're still updating them and adding some more content, some features, but I wouldn't say that we're going all in into hybrid casual. But something that we're keeping in mind for all new games, that's for sure. But nothing previous. And it also should be the depth of gameplay that, for example, Runner unfortunately might not have.
Some gameplays are just not compatible to extend there. Yeah, Artem.
Yeah, I would say we're currently in some active production with some existing games, but I completely agree. Not all type of hyper-casual game can be transformed in this hybrid model because there is nothing to add extra. It's like perfect as it is. Don't touch it, it works. So that's the main idea, don't hurt it. That's why we're just checking all the metrics. Can we increase it, can we make it even better? I would say it's sustainable in-game KPIs. If we see it long run, let's say day 7, day 14, even day 30, then definitely we can try to adapt and add something extra.
Okay. Jakub? Anything to add here?
Yeah, so
like you have a machine pretty much to like multiply yourself.
Yes. I mean, having a domain expertise has always been a good thing, but still we have, especially with the game that I'm in charge of. It's an older game, right? So I think it's very inspirational to look like how we actually can reinvent some parts of our games to be more accessible and to work better in the current market. So it's like sometimes it's not only about adding stuff, which of course we do more. For us, it's more from the mid-core audiences, but it's also about adjusting what is already there to the new expectations of the market.
Okay, and logically, this leads us to that other option, which is making hybrids to templates. As we've seen, like numerous companies, or not numerous, few, succeed on the market, such as guys from Hobby or Say Games. How would you say you approach this currently within like your current companies, or your view on templates overall? Because I know they have their advantages, disadvantages. Don't get me wrong, templates aren't a solution to everything. It pretty much locks you to that one, again, compatible genre, compatible core gameplay. Otherwise, it cannot kind of scale on that. We cannot put like a gacha meta game on like a puzzle game. Doesn't really work well, I guess. But yeah, what's pretty much your approach? I would say it's more of an approach towards, as you mentioned, Tamara, preserving these kind of very fast testing cycles that are getting now longer with hybrids. Because templates is one answer to that. Because if we have a template now, we again test many cores within our template, and the best core, of course, wins. And we already have like the meta game built for it within the template, so let's push it. So how would you say approach this problem or problem/template issue?
I think I don't like templatized games terminology because those gameplays are still innovative. If we're talking about hobbyist games, it's more like modules.
Yeah,
that
we can. That doesn't matter. But
exactly. Like templates.
Is the thing they use
of
all
course,
the time,
if we're talking about like especially hobby, it's like self-publisher. Self-publisher, they have a development team, and for them it's like super natural to reuse elements, features, progression from one game to another, like just for the sake of making the production cycle faster and cheaper. So I think it's definitely something that everyone should consider if they're self-publishing. If they're publishing external studios, it would be more complicated because you have different developers with different
genres.
Not only genres, just I'm not a developer, but I already know the developers coding very differently, and they don't like to reuse something that was already coded for them.
Of course.
Or at least it should be done so well that they would love to do that. So I think it can be tricky if you are the publisher, but of course, and this is what we're trying to do, like to add value. And for us at this stage is one of our goals to speed up this process. Like if we found this good core gameplay that is sticky enough, then how we speed up the process in order to build. Because you cannot publish the game these days naked gameplay. you need at least several progression features, including some economy, at least some basic one. So of course, this is not the future, it's already the present, and this is not something that you can choose. I think this is the only option that you're going with, especially if you're doing games one after another. If you're just supporting, if you're doing one game and you're you're supporting only one game, then like you don't need this template. But other than that, yeah.
Yeah, I would say it's first of all the templates is not magic pills. In one, resolve all the issue which could be during the production. However, it's really time boosting. It help you to save a lot of money, a lot of dev hours. So I would say instead of calling like the templates which you use over and over again, it can be like a principle, like your guidelines, where you can follow, because for example, right now this type of meta, let's say, works in the game, so you can use it as inspiration and then try to adapt it and make it more unique for each game, because don't forget that you follow one guidance, templates, whatever, the end game experience could be similar to already existing on the market. So you need to avoid these traps, actually, to produce the same game. So always try to adapt it and make it some more interesting, unique, and don't forget to polish, let's say, your templates, which you already used in the past, to improve it and make it even better. Because it's actually like, let's imagine with assets, you will use the same one pack of assets over and over again. I mean, it's cool, yeah, it saves you tons of money and time, but your game will literally looks like copycat. So always try to improve your process, internal, external, whatever, but usually try to follow the best practice on the market.
So, TLDR, upgrade your template.
Yeah, I would say use your templates, but use it smart.
Yeah, okay. Jakub?
Yeah, I would just add here that when dealing with portfolios, I think that this is not much different than in other areas of the industry, because like you always, when you have a portfolio, you need to unify things, at least at some level. I don't know, data tracking, having some own SDKs, I don't know, having pipelines for whatever you do more than once. For templates themselves, I'm a little bit surprised. In the current stage, there is not so much talk about live ops on a hybrid casual, but I think that it will have to come. So
if they want to survive.
yes, and that is a perfect way that can be essentially where you can invest into technology that makes it much easier to run live ops in the new games that you publish or create.
I think that there are a lot of examples of templatized games. I think Idle, it's like as soon as the studio creates a good Idle economy, they risking and trying to find a good market. Yeah, exactly. Same for Idle Arcade. Same that was done for Runners. There are multiple studios who did like just one template and then they
Orange 3.
Or exactly. So it's been there even in terms of gameplays. So nothing to be like. We shouldn't be neglecting.
Yeah, of course. It's like all around the cycle. Okay. One of the latest, hottest, or like let's say not anymore hottest after the backtracking, there was the Unity changes and Unity things. So just like a short tidbit here, what do you think about it? Do you think it's kind of now that they, for those who don't know, like Unity announced the big changes to their pricing model and then they backtrack a little bit because it was, I guess, exponentially impacting the high volume games which are hyper casual, hybrid casual, because it was based on install fees, so now they backtrack to percentage or 2.5%, whichever is the lower. So what would you say would be the current impact of these changes on your model, or like how do you approach the situation here?
I think the impact, there is no immediate impact right
because
now, especially after they changed the initial pricing. But I think that we will see the changes within from 6 to 18 months.
Mm-hmm.
Depends how it all going to land, because also as far as I know, the changes are not final and they can still tweak here. Exactly. So I think, like from my perspective, studios should look at and explore other options, and maybe some other big players are going to come up with solutions that will be good enough as a replacement. I hope so, but nothing to comment, and there is nothing that we have changed this year.
Quick question, if you could share, what would you say would be the percentage of the developers you're working with that are in Unity?
In our case,
Yeah.
95.
95, okay. Artem?
100%.
100%?
Yeah, I mean, that's right now let's say, the main engine for mobile gaming.
Mm.
And you can't switch it, like shift to another engine immediately because you wanna, no, because a lot of servers, a lot of publishers still use their internal SDK, and to readapt it is gonna be extremely time consuming. Plus, don't forget, it's not the final decision yet, so technically we can get something interesting early next year. So we'll
like a competitor.
Yeah, so we'll see. I mean, right now, of course, this is reality. I mean, it's not Armageddon. We still can work with it. We still can adapt, let's say, the pipeline with the external studios. Yeah, unfortunately, it won't be how it was in the past, but we already had even way, let's say, more interesting situation in the past, like IDFA, and so on.
No backtracking from
we'll deal with it. We'll deal with this also.
Okay. Jakub, anything to that? Like, the thing that I keep hearing is that the main bottleneck here is that Unity have very robust ecosystem, mainly the asset store, that like nobody can match that. Even like if you have a good engine, you still don't have the asset store. And then the SDKs are not there for all the things that you need there in like the game itself. So this is what I heard like community-wise. So would you like, can you correct me here, that do I understand the situation correctly, that everybody will just stay on the current version of Unity and not switch to the one that requires the payment, which will lose support only in half of 2025, and only then this whole problem and situation kind of starts again? Is this the case? Just the delay now, because they pretty much took back the date of 1st of January of 2024, so everybody's just waiting for this?
I think asset store is not the biggest issue,
Really?
Especially, it's just when the whole madness started, they were like the biggest asset store providers, like asset creators.
Yeah.
They were also pretty mad, and they were saying, "Oh, we will."
Oh, they
to
will
another-"
switch.
Yeah, they were ready to switch. So I hope that the switch might be happening even now, and I think other platforms, like other engines, are
I think
not
Koto already
sleeping.
promised
I think they're
asset
already
store,
like slowly cooking. They should be, yeah, they're doing that, right? So I hope like till the end, to the end of 2024, we will have something solid. This is my hope. Not that I have any insight, but I think there is definitely a room for improvement there. And there could be a room for another competitor to Unity, that's for sure.
Yeah, okay, definitely. Okay, anything better? You're Unity based, if I understand correctly.
No, there is not.
No, you have your own engine. Sorry.
No. We are using Unity, but yeah, like not comment on this one.
Okay, of course. Yeah, the last question I have here is pretty much predictions for next year. Like, what would you say would happen? What would you say would be the topic? Or do we just, pack this up and no hybrid casual is gonna turn into something completely different? Or everybody will just go hybrid casual as they are now, and even less hyper casual, and which means that next year we're going to see even less hyper casual buzz and much more hybrid buzz, much more product kind of demand for know-how and stuff around that, and maybe yeah, just what would you say would be your maybe even strategy that would be better, like not the prediction but your strategy for next year as you would have it now.
I think we should go, and the market will go into product direction, and there is no other choice. We have to build games, we have to build good games, and in order to retain users, we need to build other features, we need to build live ops, and the marketing itself, of course, will stay, but I think marketing will be more advanced and tied to the product.
More connected?
Yeah, you need to find those users who are going to purchase, for example. How are you finding those users? And for example, what if you have, what percentage and how you approaching payers versus non-payers from both sides, from the product side and marketing side. And marketing is no longer all those, before marketing were the kings, and then product, give me someday. Now product and marketing, they should collaborate and they should work, and only in this scenario I see things evolving. And of course, I wouldn't predict new players in the market. I would predict some players dying even more.
So less players in the market, the survival of the fittest.
Exactly. And especially for us, as 2 years ago, there were so many new hyper-casual studios. They no longer exist, and in a year we will see even less. So if you're the studio who wants to publish, you need to think about your team composition. You need to play the games that are right now in that are charting, that are top grossing, and try to think what kind of people and what kind of concepts you want to develop. And only in this case you might have a chance to succeed with the right publisher, the right approach.
Yeah, I would like to add here that as well. I think that the complexity is increasing in the market. Both
the requirements.
The requirements to get successful. Yeah. So while it was still possible, getting harder, but still possible to have a very small mobile studio, mobile free-to-play studio, and to do some cool games. Now there is a lot of expertise needed in a lot of different areas, not just marketability, but also metagames, also game economy, which wasn't really necessary sometimes. And so overall, I also expect it to be some consolidation and less bigger players that have access to all these tools.
Artem?
I would say it's going to be definitely quality instead of quantity. And definitely will be way more work for game designer, level designer, economy designer. And it feels like next year will be a really interesting case of what the live ops can appear for hybrid casual games. What kind of it will be? Just the simple events, how it was, or something more interesting. And I would say the evolving the monetization, of course, switching more to EIP compared with the normal advertisement. So we'll see, will Interstitial survive or not by the end of next year, who knows. But definitely the game will become more complex, the visual quality also increase drastically for the next half a year or a year. And the requirements to studios. So right now it's really hard to start, let's say, new companies, like a solo developers, it's mostly impossible to do this complex project by yourself. So let's say maybe several studios will merge in one studio to work on some project. Maybe a lot of collaboration between the studios appears. Maybe with even publisher plus several studios to make on some games how it was in the past, but not in massive cases. So we'll see. I mean, overall everything will move to the right direction, I would say, to provide the best game experience to users, first of all. And surprise, because a game is definitely something which fun, with a lot of wow juiciness effects during the gameplay and entertainment.
Yeah, so we're finally moving towards like user experience way. Okay. Yeah, Jakub. Okay.
Yeah, I would just like to appreciate your answers in this, and yeah, I think overall it's good for the players what's happening, because it's okay, so not everything, right? We all want some hyper casual games sometimes, but which will be less of them. But in the end, the quality of the games and the options, like how long you can play the game and enjoy it meaningfully and feel the progression, it's getting better. And on the other side, as I never forget to say, the mid-core, the casual genres also have to evolve in how accessible they are to their users, how understandable their systems are. So I think overall it is change for good, but it's I think that it's unfortunate that it's so hard to start new companies.
Yeah, like there will be like new graveyards being built out of this. Yeah, we'll see. Anyway, yeah, I think that's it for our panel. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much, participants. And yeah, I guess I'll see you around the conference.